Really? Wait. And hello everyone, hello world. Sasha is here. Another Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, in a new episode called Everything You Wanted to Know About Dogs, but You Didn't Have Whom to Ask. So, we have a bunch of and a lot of questions coming in, and thank you so much for that. Even though I invite you to ask live questions as well, I'm gonna kick up with the ones that came on the story when I ask and introduce this live today. So the first of all, I want to tell you that's why the Pure Love and Harmony concept and our wellness formula has such a tremendous impact and help dogs and help their doggy parents understand their babies inside out. Is because the beginning story and the starting point is not the same. How do we approach dogs? Like the understanding of who the dog is, that's the most important question. And now you're gonna have the people answering, oh, it's a domesticated wolf. And if you put the domestication and the domesticated wolf in a picture, the entire concept of the dog care collapses. And that is why do we have such a big and enormous problem in approaching the proper dog care, because the beginning of the formula and understanding is not applicable. What's very important in understanding a couple of scientists that were actually going after and researching the etiology of the dogs and the canines, particularly dogs. One of them was my late mentor, Dr. Ray Coppinger. And I had a chance on my own to observe the dogs living in the wild. Which are the wild dogs? The stray dogs. The dogs that are living outside the villages, inside places where you don't have an access to the humans, yet those dogs live on the remains of the humans. And when you go in villages of India that I was studying the dogs at, like India, Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and then later on in Mexico City, in Bulgaria, in Albania, in Serbia, you see all of those dogs that are actually living on the leftovers of the humans, don't interact with the humans, and have a lot of benefit from them in order to kind of gain this valuable survival how can I say, traction. That's maybe a great point to do. So what do we need to know from there? What did I gain from there? And what puts Pure Love and Harmony and everything we do for dogs completely... My dogs don't live on my leftovers. Okay, just try to see the big picture on everything. They do. Because you actually go to work, you buy the food for yourself, you buy, you have a certain amount of the, because what did today's Western world and the world in general, we don't go hunting. We don't go to hunt, actually. Before we go to hunt, we go to work. And that we hunt for the money first. So when you bring money home, then you divide the money. And then for the money, you buy the dog food. So the dog do live on your leftovers as well. Because you use portion of your hunt that we'll call now these days modern called money, and we share what you can use that money to your family, to buy something, to pay the mortgage, to pay more food, to eat more food. No, we choose that $100 bill and we buy dog food. That perception of buying dog food, delegating the dog food, but also sacrificing and going to work for the money to buy the dog food, feeds them leftovers of ours. No matter how do we call them, the concept is the same. And the concept is very important for the philosophy, because the philosophy is always foundation on everything that we do believe in, and it's right. For example, I saw, and I was evaluating these dogs. I was living on the, kako se kaže deponija smeća? I was living on the landfills, and I was watching dogs eating leftovers of humans without having any drama and problems. So if the dogs get sick from the, but I, of course, my grandmother was feeding the dogs just with a little bread and the leftovers of lunch, and we didn't know what does it mean taking a dog to a veterinarian. Neither the veterinarians were interested in treating the dogs a long time ago. So that time we need to reinvent. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We already know how the happy, healthy dog looks like. We just need to come back and try to reevaluate the position of how do we bring those great times for the dog's well-being into a modern, happy life and dog interaction with a human. So that's what's very important. So what does the Ray Coppinger actually speculate around? It's that very important. The dog was the first domesticated animal among all the others that the humans could able to benefit much more from. The people decided to domesticate dogs first. And just 5,000 years later, they domesticated cows and horses and pigs and later on chickens and ducks and things like that. But 5,000 years, like 15,000 years ago at least, the first animal-human interaction started with wolves. The question becomes like how? Why the humans, what the heck the humans 5,000 years ago was, 15,000 years ago were thinking that how can I say that can those dogs benefit human relationship of any kind? They were like more competitors in nature than something that can create a symbiotic relationship. So what happens is actually, and there is a lot of people and a lot of scientists, that etiologists, anthropologists, that actually came up to the same conclusions, that the wolves domesticated themselves to humans, meaning that the wolves adapted them to humans, finding an easier source to food. If the wolves domesticated themselves and changed themselves into something that looks like a dog, and we have those dogs today around us, that means that the evolutionary perception of the dog's evolution is always adapt to a circumstances, what makes them two steps ahead of people. And if we think that we are in charge in that relationship, if not properly managed and if not properly addressed, the dogs will always make them their way. And unfortunately, because they're adaptable, they're like great kids. And there is that another, when I mention kids, like why this interaction with the dogs, humans, is very interesting to observe. Because there is a very known phenomena called neonatony. Neonatony is actually phenomena in which the old animal, like animals, in order to gain a benefit from the surroundings, evolution, to blend into environment, remain and keep the traits of their babies. So, and the traits that can help them survive and help them approach and gain better use of the environment, they will take those traits and they take those qualities and bring them into adulthood, making them be cute as possible. And what creates a human-dog relationship so attractive and so passionate and so well connected and able to develop? Why we are so much in love with dogs? Because of their cuteness. And the cuteness, no matter how old the dog are, they're always remaining cute, as the cutest, and the most cutest they are when they're puppies, but they do remain cute through the life. That's why we are able to develop such a nice relationship with them. But that particular finding, that particular foundation, and that particular foundation of the story, that the dogs are actual forever wolf puppies. The dogs are actually forever wolf puppies that adapted themselves to a life next to humans, and they're always trying to find the way better, closer, easier way to approach human attention, providing them with the food to get more food, to get easier food. But then something happens, and then we have this glitch in a human-dog interaction and relationship. So that's what the foundation of the pure love and harmony is. And if you know that the dog is not, when they said a dog is a carnivore, the dog is wolf, the dog same species as the wolf, and dogs should eat whatever the wolves are eating because that's a natural digestion and everything to the wolf and things like that, turns to be very wrong. Turns to be very wrong. Because we had that enormous movement, like let's say 10, 15 years ago, with the feeding raw. And that's still a big movement, but changed dramatically. Why? Because the raw feeding doesn't give to dogs adequate way of interacting, building up to a momentum of what the dog actually do need to extract from the food. Also, the idea of how the dogs are, depend on which school of veterinarian science, nutrition you read, the dogs should be like in between 10% of the protein food or 75% of the carbs food. Which of those, it's completely two different opposites of two. And how do we solve that problem in the Pure Love and Harmony Wellness formula? Just but gently cooking the food and fermenting the food and providing the food with the same digestion movement as the wolf parents would have for their puppies. What do the wolf parents do for their puppies? They go away, they hunt, they eat the food, on the way home, they half digest the food, and they vomit the food when they are home, so the puppies eat. If the neonatony phenomena wants to translate itself to adulthood, the dog, then you get a real formula for how to feed the dogs properly, is to feed the dogs with the cooked food. Slowly cooked or gently cooked, in order to start providing a fermentation of that food that keeps building itself and changing the structure of the long proteins and carbs and everything that's inside into a transitioning of the food, half digested food that will actually initiate and be a great substance for building the strength of the immune system within the digestion system, where you start producing, not bringing a probiotics inside the dog's body by giving the pills, but in contrary, you are creating a circumstances in the digestive system in which the evolution and like a blooming of the gut flora and the good bacteria is actually happening on itself. So it's always great to help people, help dogs transitioning from one food to another. And also when the dogs are in a state of constant stress or experiencing some big stress and things like that, to help the body with the probiotics, but also never forget that we should always bring the food inside that will actually trigger and communicate with the dog's body, making it respond well on the digestion, in the digestion process, and on nutrition that we provide through the food. Because it's always very important, the vaccination would do the same. You inject and you expect in contrary to the response of the immune system would be to develop protection of the body. With the food can be vaccination of the entire dog's body, in which the dog's body creates a wonderful immune system in response to well-being, well-prepared food and well-developed body out from that food and energy that can be really used through the proper nutrition, and that the immune system on its own boosts itself, because it's that food actually initiates the development of the great immune system and nourishing it through the life of the dog. And there, that would be a little story in, and I'm gonna start with the first question, like what would be the best probiotics to give to the dogs. And the easiest, even though we produce a wonderful prebiotics and probiotics and postbiotics that you all have in this little comfort, Sashary's Bliss Comfort. The prebiotics are the ones that are actually going into the gut and cleaning and killing the wrong ones, the ones that create all kind of problem to the digestion, like in the dog's intestines. And then the probiotics are actually the colonies of the bacteria that are great for the dog's body and digestion. That's going to be like a planted there, so they're going to be growing. And then we have postbiotics that are actually food for the probiotic that actually gives that wonderful how can I say wonderful position of dogs to kind of eat. The probiotics are eating from those postbiotics, what's actually is a food for them. And so that would be a Sashary's Comfort. But also don't forget that the most cheapest, especially dog produced probiotics, are always better than the most expensive human ones. And never confuse these two things, because the human probiotics, they in a best way, in a best possible, when we give probiotics, the human probiotics to the dogs, the best what can happen, it will not happen nothing, so it wouldn't have any impact. But also what probably will happen, that actually those colonies of bacteria, that probiotics that we put in the dog's body, and they are like human made, gonna actually kill the colonies of the good bacteria for the dogs, and oftentimes create bigger mass than you can even imagine. It might happen like if we say 50-50. 50 would be nothing happens, you just gave them, nothing will be, because the colony of the bacteria that are inside the guts already and creating a problem would be working and eating those colonies of the bacteria that we put in, and it would be acting to them like a postbiotic, so it wouldn't make any benefit, but also it wouldn't make any harm. But on contrary, oftentimes it might also happen that can create more harm and can create colonies of the bacteria and gut flora that you would need a lot of time to get rid of. So when choosing a good probiotic for the dogs, it's always good to have a probiotic for the dog. If it's not a human, if it's not a food, for example, if you put a fermented food, why the fermented food is great for the dog's digestion? It's because the fermented food is also initiation of the digestion. That's important. And when the fermented food comes in, it already brings its own colonies of the bacteria that are good, because they are starting to as we ferment the veggies or the fruits, the colonies of the good bacteria are starting to kind of do the job. And then when we bring that inside the dog's body, what they do is they keep boosting the good bacteria inside the dog's body. So we are not necessarily kind of injecting or bringing them in, but helping them grow. So that's also a great way to boost the body with a great probiotics. Okay, why it's not good to talk to dogs? So that's a question. It's very nice and commonly asked question, like, because I said, like, try not, should I start to feed my roti raw meat and raw fruit and veggies? I try, like, best way to do is just slow cook it, because by cooking it, the raw movement is always kind of like trying to give toppers and this and that. And if we want to feed raw, we need to have a lot other things to add to that diet. So because a long time ago it was just feed raw meat and just give a stomach, and then give this and that, and then add probiotics, add kefir, add this, add that. So a lot of things should be added. But how do you solve adding of all of that? By gently cooking it. And by gently cooking it, you are initiating the process of digestion, And then because that's some food grows, and some food when we cook something and then we leave it for a couple of days, the food actually become better. The stews are always better a couple of days later than they are on the day when we are cooking them. We know, Odmetnik, I think you're from Macedonia. Sarma is always better a couple of days later. I know, like my mom, when used to do sarma for our Slava and for the Christmas and everything of that, like she would do it like a couple of days before actually went, so it can grow, it can sazreva. How you say that? Ferment. Ne kaže se ferment, sazreva, zri. It can, cultivate itself and become better and tastier. Same goes with the and also what I find it very interesting is, if you really want to make a great food, and why the fruits are actually great source of the great boost to a intestinal system, digestion system, and also very important part of the creating a great place and great environment for the probiotics to grow. Is if we would put the whole apple or the pear or some fruits like that are like a little how you call that, little like a firm fruit, to actually have them microwaved for 5 minutes or put them in oven for like 20 minutes in order to cook them inside their own peel, right? Without peeling them, inside their own skin. And that will actually create that pectin. Then when eaten, creates a nice layer over the intestinal, like a duodenum, especially, like a tanko crevo, kako kaže? Duodenum, that's how it's a Latin word. Do you understand what that is? First colon, no, that's far away. No, okay, and then help them create a very nice environment for the nice colonies of bacteria to be born. So I used to cook fruit, right? But now lately I'm actually doing it in a microwave for 5 minutes, and they become like very nice to eat. And then I just chop them and add them to that veggie stew, and to a stew of the veggies and the meat. So if you ask me about the raw, I never liked raw, because raw has a very strong, and that's where when you said like a species characteristic feeding. And if you see, the dogs are wolves because when they breed, they will give a fertile offspring so they can reproduce after that. The wolf dog can reproduce. So what's very important there is actually to understand the dogs are not wolves that are eating the food from what they kill. The dogs are wolf puppies that eat half digested food of their parents. And that's where you get an answer. How do you feed? What is like a species specific food? It is meat and veggies and the fruit combined together, but in a way that digestion already started. So you don't give them raw, you give them half digested, what actually is cooked. So I suggest you do that, because no matter what you can do wrong with the choosing whatever you want to feed your dogs with, everything is better. The cheapest and most the worst meat you can find, and veggies you can find, and fruit you can find, is always better than the most expensive kibble on a planet that you can find. And you don't need to kind of like try to find convincing to that. Just go and see what is the price of the meat and veggies and fruits, and see how much you pay for the 1 pound or 1 kilo of the kibbles, and the math would be perfect what's in the kibble, right?
That's pretty controversial. Can you say that again?
What?
That's pretty controversial. Can you say that again?
What's controversial?
That the cheapest meat is better than the most expensive kibble.
Should I just repeat it? Like a cheapest meal is cheapest meal to feed the dog, cheapest meat and cheapest fruit and cheapest veggies and almost rotten, and all of that is much more healthier for your dogs than the most expensive kibbles on the planet. Like, I don't know what you can find there. And soon you start reading the labels, you will see that they're using words like a chicken, not a chicken meat, like a beef, not a beef meat, and even be protein, this and that, and source from here and source from there. And when you try to understand that actually there is a hidden message of how you should treat your dog, neonateny would be an amazing phenomena to go after, because all the secrets are hidden in the beginning of the story. Who is the dog? And the late professor Ray Coppinger and his wife wrote a wonderful book called Who is the Dog? Or What is the Dog? And then you can find there nice answers that start the story from the ground zero, from the get-go. And then slowly developing the idea of how the dog is evolved into a man's best friend, and how they are always a step of us, a step ahead, and then how the humans should be very, very careful. Then you get an answer. How should I behave with my dog? How should I communicate with my dog? How should I care for my dog? How should I feed my dog? All of that is starting, and it's kind of like written in that paragraph as in Who is the Dog? In that simple answer, who is the dog? The dog is forever wolf baby, and that wolf baby need protection from parents, need food provided, and need shelter and social interaction, and they need that through the life. They won't grow up enough to take that. But where the drama starts, when we don't know how to be a parent to a dog is, we treat them like a human babies. We overhumanize the dogs. We project the human traits to dogs. That's disrespect of an animal that has their own consciousness, their own emotions, their own perception of the world, and their own idea of how this world functions. But humans for them because there are a lot of scientific studies that says that the humans to a dog eye contact creates such a pleasant environment for both, in which both of us release a lot of nice hormones like endorphin, serotonin, and nice ones that are actually kind of like feeling us, making us feel loved. Making us feel loved. And then when I feel loved, I don't want to feel loved by an animal. I want to feel loved by other people. And then I project. I project my mom. I project my dad. I project my perfect partner. I project my kids. I project my boss. I project in my dog. And then in contrary, I get confusion. I get fear, because the dogs are, like I said, it's that line, like how the dogs need to develop a secure attachment. They need to have a nice and high understanding of themselves, to understand that they are dogs and they are followers, and they need to understand their owners, the perception of the world, and a leading position, and pet parents that are leaders, providers, and everything else. And on the other side, all the dogs that doesn't have that secure attachment, they might develop anything. They can pull back, or they can be scared of the people, they can be aggressive towards people, or they can be anxious towards people. So all of those are signs that secure attachment that does exist in between humans and dogs is something that need to be really taken seriously, because otherwise we will never ever develop a nice relationship with our dogs. So speaking of that, but there is a good thing too. There is a very interesting thing as well, because the dogs are forever puppies. And since they are forever puppies, they have very specific neuroplasticity that gives them ability to adapt to new changes. So if you just adapt the dog of 3 years or 5 years, 7 years from a shelter, you become a new ground zero. And because that dog is a puppy, it still has a puppy ability and neuroplasticity, adjusting their ability to a new circumstances, and surrounding and a new environment and new people, they're able to start it from scratch no matter how old they are, because that's their survival mode, that's their surviving mechanism. Adaptability and neuroplasticity is something that made them one of the most interesting. Okay, thank you. Hi, I just wanted to ask, can the dogs drink any kind of tea? Okay, let me get there. I'll just finish this one, just to finish my thought. I'll answer you, Goran Medo. Thank you so much for the question. So the idea would be that no matter how old dog comes to interact with you first, it would be on a level of the puppy. And you have always abilities to start from scratch and to understand in which way you can develop themselves and add yourself as their pet parent. Okay, when it comes to a tease, it's very important that you use that possibility and give a dog's chance to use teas as remedies. Which teas are great for the dogs? The most important tea that you can give to the dogs would be a parsley tea. A parsley tea is a great tea, that you kind of make, and every single tea you're gonna just make a tea like regular with a bag or with the leaves or whatever, and then just add it to a water. Do not just make a tea and then highly concentrated tea, give it to the dogs. No, make a tea and then give like a tablespoon or let's say like a 1 tablespoon to a 1 gallon of the water or something like that. Or maybe, no, Monsieur, some 1 liter of the water, so third of the gallon, something like that. So would be like a 3 tablespoon per gallon of the tea. But which would be the best tea for the dog? So the green tea is very good for the hygiene of the mouth, and there is a great combo. So you have a green tea, of course, non-caffeine, and the mint and the parsley. So those 3 combined in one, and then you make a tea out from that, and then you just take a scoop, like a spoon of it, and then put it in the dog's bowl of water. That can provide a great health to the mouth, kill and help fight the bacteria, also help hydrate the mouth, so the dogs get a chance to initiate those salivas that are always, those saliva glands that are always, wetting the mouth of the dog. So the dry mouth doesn't help them accumulate a tart and actually later on bad breath and things like that. So I think that's very important. And also the parsley. The parsley is a part of the protocol, anti-parasitic protocol of late Hilda Clark. She said like a wormwood, a clove, the green walnut tincture, and the parsley are the wonderful combination of the dogs treating the parasites. And that's what actually my dogs are treated with, that formula. And I'm doing that for 30 years. No matter which dog I have, I never treated them with a commercial any pill for the parasites. I was doing this. So, and there is a special protocol, and if you DM me, I can send you the protocol on English, and you can go after it. It lasts like 5 weeks, and every week you do something else. And there are you need to come up with the 4 things that you can make yourself, and it's a parsley tea that goes either in a water to be like a drink, or how can you say that? Or the parsley, you just freeze it and then you blend it and you just give them a pinch in the food. So it's a parsley. It's a black walnut tincture. You can buy it everywhere in the like those healthy stores. And then the cloves. That's very important. You need to freshly grind them every single day when you do it. And the wormwood that you also need to buy a tea and then grind the tea with in a like a coffee grinder, and then that beautiful small like how you say that prach powder, you can like a pinch of that goes to their food. But there is important protocol, because when dealing with the parasites, it's very important to understand that there are 3 stages at least. So there is an egg for sure, there is larva for sure, and there is an old like a parasite that actually again brings eggs, and then that's kind of. So some of the parasites has one stage of course, one stage of the egg, but then 10 stages of larva, or 5 stages of larva, or 3 stages of larva, or a lot of stages of larva. For example, the heartworm has this, I don't know how many, but there is a lot of stages of larva. And then you have a grown adult of parasite. And then the most difficult to kill is these 2, the egg and larva. And that's but they're also very fragile on the moment of transitioning. So the moment when the egg opens to larva to come out, and a larva from one stage to the other, or from a final stage to the adult, then when they are like very fragile. And then that's why this protocol lasts like 5 weeks, because in every single stage you now need to create an environment in which parasites would be killed, but couldn't predict the possibility that they are actually opening in a, because if you log the environment, that's why the treats of the pills that we need to drink and give to the dogs every single month, because when we kill the grown adult parasites, that they already laid the new eggs, which gonna become larvae, and again a big parasites again. What happens there is, because of this entire surrounding in which now the eggs can get a receptor, and they say, oh my God, it's not safe to open, because now we live in the dangerous position. So actually what happens when we give a tablet to the dog, and all the adult gets killed, right? But the larva, the egg doesn't open, the larva doesn't open. Not that they doesn't open, they would maybe open, and then that pill would access, the drug would access them and kill them as well. But they don't open because they are in a protection mode. So that's why the Hildeklar protocol lasts for 5 weeks. So we get chance to kill them on all stages. And that's what you do only 2 times a year for 5 weeks, and you are like done with everything. When you are choosing the pills, they're targeting specific parasites, and they're like always like out there like hundreds of parasites species that we know for, and much of we don't know for, like we don't know for them, and all of them can need to have their own treatment. But Hilda Clark did the treatment for all the parasites, because no matter what, she understood that the way this works is actually killing them on all 3 stages, because they do not provide the circumstances in which the larva or the egg wouldn't hatch. And the moment of hatching is actually the moment when the parasite gets killed by these 4 actually powerful remedies. And also when you do that for your dog, it's important to be done for you as well. And for the humans, there is we don't use parsley, so we use wormwood, clove, and tincture of the green black walnut. So I think that was the answer to that question as well. Best dog for the mixed dog, best diet for the mixed dog of 2 years old, of course, is a gently cooked diet of the formula 211, like 50% of the meat and then 25% of the veggies cooked together, and then the fruit, 25% of the fruit should be microwaved to that kind of in their own skin. And then when soft and chewy and those sweetery, and you have all of that nice sugary crust around, that's when the pectin is actually released from fruit, and it's great source of great source of protection of the intestines that creates a great possibility to how can I say, to grow the good gut microflora. Okay, thank you so much. You made my day too by asking a great question. Help me direct this live towards being useful for you. So I'm very much appreciating you being here with me. So this is a good diet for you. Is actually Kiki was the questioning. Best diet for your dog, 2 years old, would be cook for your dog, because you cannot delegate love. That should be done at home. Okay. Greetings, Sanya asking, greetings. What is the best diet for the 1-year-old Frenchie? Answer would be the same, like cook for your dog. And the formula is very easy. 50% of the meat, 25% of the food, of the fruit, of the veggies cooked together, and 25% of the fruit prepared in oven or in microwave. When ready to be, when soft and nice and sweet, then just cut it and mix it all together. And it's always, you can always pre-do the food for like 5 to 10 days. And then as the food mature, it becomes much better, because that is where you would say oftentimes sometime when we cook more for the 10 days, I would just, what I do, I just recook it. I just cook it again. And in a cook it, it's a kind, when you are cooking it, it's kind of like preserving it again. Or you can just freeze it, portion it up, freeze it. And there is people that are just feeding their dog freezed foods, take it from a freezer and just put it in a bowl. They'll be very happy to. Do not, that's very important. Do not heat up the food. The dogs don't like, the food is not good when it's heat up. The dogs are not liking it. So from the fridge, from the freezer, straight into a bowl, they're great to go. They're good to go. Which probiotics you recommend? I said like any probiotics rather than just dogs. No humans, that's very important. Okay. What does it mean when the dog shakes? Nixa is asking what that means when the dog shake during their sleep. Do dog dream? So we can doubt and we can how can I say that? Argue, I guess, level of consciousness with the dogs. But we cannot argue the consciousness itself. So the level of consciousness and free will in dogs is debatable. But consciousness and emotional state of mind and emotional state of being, I think at this point of our interaction with the dogs, is undebatable. So every single conscious animal that sleeps has a perception of the both worlds. The world that we see in the dreaming, in the awakening state of mind, as well as the world that we see and experience in a dreaming state of mind and a dreaming state of consciousness, let's call it that way, and awareness of the present moment. So yes, the dog, and some studies of the brain functions and the brain activities, of course, gravitating dogs towards a sleeping state is a prerequisite of the calmness of the dog. The dog really needs to live serene life, and they really need to be kind of like very in that motion of secure attachment towards humans. When secured attachment towards human, then the human behavior is predictable, and that predictability of our behavior, the predictability of our behavior give dogs sense of belonging, care, and peace, so they can relax. The dogs that are relaxed are actually the dogs that trust their owners. More the dogs are relaxed, more they do sleep. So the serene dog is actually a sleepy dog. And the sleepy dog and serene dog, the people who say, oh, my dog is, following me everywhere. We have a new data showing up that the dogs that are following their owners around have 68% more chances to develop cancers. And the study that was talking about, and that they didn't call it like happy dogs loving their parents. No, now it's that following owners around might be called like hyperactive anxiousness. Anxiousness that's expressed by the hyperactivity. And the hyperactivity doesn't give a chance to a brain, mind, and emotional being to settle and rest. And that's where the dogs are actually anxiousness because they don't trust their parents, they don't trust their owners and their humans. And that's why they are traveling around them everywhere where they go, because they don't know why and what's going to be next. And that's leads, one of the reasons is, leading us into a separation anxiety, all kind of drama going around us. And I think that's very, very interesting point to understand that. And that's kind of very nice. If the dogs can develop state of dream, if dogs can dream, if the dogs can have that second reality within their little mind and consciousness, then why wouldn't we let them enjoy the life of the babies? Because the babies do sleep 75% of their time. And let's take one question for the end. Let's find this one. I have a Shih Tzu. She's a bit heavy set. Does that affect her health? I don't know who answered because this was an anonymous question asked, so I appreciate your privacy and I won't tell your name. But I would love to draw all attention of yours because the food and the giving dog food is in our power and in our responsibility. Giving dog creating a circumstances in which the dogs are actually heavy set might be abuse out of love. We want so good for them, and yet in all of that we just choose to create harm for them. If we can create their menu, what they can eat, how much they need to eat, you have this is the 21st century. You can count down to the last mineral and vitamin in the daily intakes and count how much calories they need to get and how much vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and minerals. All of that can be tracked down to a zero, like everything, 0.00 whatever. So don't take this just for granted. I have a dog and he likes to eat. It's like with the kids. You don't give kids chocolate over and over and over and ice cream because they like to eat it, because you are setting them for failure. Obesity, diabetes, all kind of things gonna outcome that. And why we did that? Just because we loved kids and we couldn't say no to a bad habits development. So that's where, if my dog loves to eat, it might maybe be a disorder I have as well, like emotional eating. But if I fill up my emotions through eating, what I'm actually in lacking of. And that's where we need to dive in and to see how we can actually solve our puzzle of life. Because this mirroring that we actually live in every single day with the dogs is a great exercise to achieve and approach the most fragile and the most secret part of our lives. The dogs are pulling that everything on surface by trying to save us as the owners, because they try to save their saviors, their providers, and their leaders, and their humans. So all of that, and then when we have, oftentimes the dogs, the dogs sit in the barrier of protecting us from a lot of how can I say, psychosomatic diseases that are coming our way. And then in order to protect us, like a little children, dogs would sacrifice themselves for our life, for our love, actually, in order to save us so we can save them. I think like this was a nice time we spent together, like almost 1 hour now. And I'm looking forward another email, I'll every single Thursday you're going to be able to ask questions before we open our little live in the stories. But every single week on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, a new episode named Everything You Wanted to Know About the Dogs, but you didn't have whom to ask. I'm all yours. Thank you so much for your time. I love you, and until next Thursday.